Well, good morning, everybody. So listen, thank you very much for coming to this session. We're going to talk quite a lot today with Sarah and Lacy about Web 2.0 and the rebirth of Silicon Valley. And we thought I would give a sort of a small context that I had the other day talking to somebody. I was lucky enough in the mid-90s to be one of the first people who started playing, as far as I knew, on the web and building websites and stuff for the company I worked for. And I was involved in the charity committee with a gentleman called Douglas Adams, which some of you may know from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I remember it was February 1996. Douglas was trying to explain to me a Web 2.0 world where you would join a community, and we didn't call it Web 2.0 then, of course, but where you join a community other than the one that you lived in. And I have to tell you, I didn't really get it. It didn't sort of make sense to me. But in preparing to meet Sarah, of course, I'm now going to her Facebook page and looking at her Twitter stuff. So it's just amazing in 10 years we've seen the emergence of Web 2.0, social media, and how much that's changing what we do. It's an interesting challenge for us at AMD, isn't it? Because what does this mean to us as a company? How should we change? Should we all be blogging? Should we be twittering? What should we be doing? Particularly as much of what we do doesn't actually touch users, it touches intermediaries. So I'm really grateful that Sarah should join us today. We're going to talk a bit about the book, which I know the first 50 of you here have got a copy of. The rest will be rushing out to Barnes & Noble between the storm and the hurricane to get your copy of. We were expecting more, but we know lots of the school district shut, so people had to go home and get their kids and stuff. So that's why we're being videoed. So Sarah and I are going to talk for a few minutes, and then hopefully we'll open it up and you guys will have some questions. So, my pleasure to introduce Sarah. Welcome aboard.
Thank you for having
Oh, now I have to not kill myself on this chair.
me. I know. I never understand why they sit at director's chairs. They're actually the most uncomfortable, awkward thing to sit on a stage in.
Just because if you're like me, you can just put your drink there.
I know. At some point in my career, I will get so prima donna that I'll walk in and I'll be like, no, I don't do director's chairs, and then make them strike the set immediately. I'm not quite there yet.
On your command. So,
right, maybe the next book.
Maybe the next book. So, the interesting thing, and I have to admit, I only got my copy yesterday, so I haven't read it. So.
It's been out since May.
I know, but that's not a good excuse on my part. The title says The Rebirth of Silicon Valley. So that sort of tends me to my first thought, which is, and I guess people have a view, but you work part of Business Week, you've been a tech reporter for 10 years. What happened to Silicon Valley first time? Why did it need rebirthing? What was the death of that?
Well, and that's actually a really controversial subtitle, and a lot of people have been really upset about it because there is people are so obsessed with and carried away with, and have all these emotions about the internet, so that whenever there's a wave of a lot of internet innovation in the valley, it's all anyone wants to talk about. And older companies like Intel and Oracle and HP, kind of get their backs up a little bit because they're like, look, this is a small part of Silicon Valley. But I think what the web really captured and revolutionized in Silicon Valley was it was almost like everything that had made the Valley unique and special on steroids, because you could start a company so quickly and you could have this massive platform for getting it out to everyone in the world. And it's like everything was just hyper sped up and on steroids. And, the fact that you no longer took, fabs to create products. It no longer took years and years to write software. And it didn't take companies years to go public either. I mean, they could get out in front of people, get out in front of the public markets, start making some money, start losing money, whatever. But it was all within like 18 months. You were suddenly this huge company. And I think that just captivated so many people, and it just really became all about speed, all about excitement, and people's imaginations went wild because it was suddenly so much you could do with that. And that's what died that was so damaging in the bus.
Right, but it was also about eyeballs. It was about things that weren't, as a company,
right.
We feel like a startup sometimes, and we've been around for 30 years as well. Mm-hmm. And, we had this problem having to make a profit. Mm-hmm. And there are a whole bunch of people who seem to survive who didn't have that problem.
Right.
Did those people actually survive? Were they the people that died? Who died and who survived?
So it was really more, The culture and believing that you could change the world is what died, because the money didn't go away. More money kept getting put in venture capital funds after the bust. There were, some people moved, but there were still a lot of really smart coders who were available to start things. And there was certainly opportunity, particularly on the web, because broadband penetration was still, rolling out. The advent of Wi-Fi, the fact that people weren't tethered to their desks and could, use the web sitting in their living room while they're watching TV and living their life. And, just adoption of the web. I mean, all of the metrics were still going up at a time when no one would start web businesses. And that was, so it wasn't the opportunity, it wasn't the money, it was this feeling of believing in it, because everyone believed in it so much, and they really felt like it was a new economy, and they got so burned. And that's what had to get reborn.
Because Pex.com, or whoever it was, wasn't a real business, and it disappeared.
But it could have been. I mean, there's actually a study that was done. If you were to ask people how many companies probably went out of business that were started in 99, 2000, you would probably guess something like 90%, right?
Yeah, majority, yes.
40.
Right.
40. So 60% of the companies that were funded at the absolute peak are still in business today. So what that says is, that's better odds than most areas of small business. It's better than opening a restaurant. So I think what that tells us, you could argue, is that there weren't too many businesses started, and it wasn't that there were unproven business models, because that's what risk capital is all about. It's that too much money was injected into them, and they wasted money. And that's what's been incredibly different about this wave of companies. So where people get upset is they see companies starting again that don't, have business models out of the gate, that are focused on amassing audience first. They see young kids sort of getting carried away and becoming these kind of rock star-like cult figures, and everyone starts having palpitations because they don't want to go through this again. But there's two huge differences. One is these companies actually can get revenues from day one because the infrastructure around online advertising has become so mature. The other thing is it's 90% cheaper to start one of these companies, and the excess didn't ramp up again.
90% cheaper because?
Because open source, because cheap hardware, just because it's all built up and it's all there. I mean, it's almost like it's a utility at this point. You can rent software space. You can over the web get a coder to pay him $12 an hour to write a site for you. When Max Levchin started did PayPal, and he's one of the main guys in the book, when he started his first business, he was going to University of Illinois. And they couldn't get a server. Like, they didn't sell servers in Illinois. There was no place to get a server. They had to have one trucked out from Palo Alto. There's only one store in Palo Alto that sold them. That was not that long ago.
And that's a really interesting point, because if you think of the turn of the millennium period, everyone was saying, just go buy, EMC, go buy Cisco, buy Oracle, buy Sun, buy, whatever the standard set of thing is, if you're a commercial company. Mm-hmm. But if you were a startup, those weren't the things you were buying, were they? I mean, these people were all building their own infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, until we all got so frenzied and there was so much money put into it. Then you could go buy not only Sun and Oracle and all these expensive systems, but you could buy $4,000 chairs as well, and Razor scooters, and there were all these parties with fire eaters and flame dancers and go-go dancers and all this, and none of that came back in Web 2.0. A big difference is Web 2.0 has been really started and controlled by the engineers and the entrepreneurs and the dreamers and the geeks. And because they never raised money, it never got taken over by venture capitalists who typically bring in the grown-up CEO, the salesman CEO, the biz dev guy, the guy who wears blue shirts and khakis. Those guys never became the powerful figures in Web 2.0. So it stayed in the hands of the geeks who just like what they're doing and believe in it.